Majura is the leading winery of the district located just outside the city of Canberra, Australia. A pioneer of the viticulture in the Canberra district, Majura Vineyard first planted Pinot Noir Chardonnay and a field blend of Cabernet Franc and Merlot in the year 1988. The most important feature of viticulture perspective is its continentality. The large differences between summer and winter temperatures and between day and night allows for relatively good homoclimate, enabling Shiraz to suit the continental climate and thrive. The expansion of the vineyard enabled the experimentation of alternative varieties, such as the variety that has become the flagship, Temporalino. Majura's vineyard's unique selling point would be that their wine has always been and always will be made exclusively from this single vineyard. Its artisan personality not only produces wines of great quality but real character as well, and can propel the brand to market a more premium target. Majura can use their current mid-range and premium red wines to target the Canadian market. The Majura wine would be aimed at the premium target market, also known as image seekers. They view wine as a status symbol, just discovering it and have basic knowledge of it. They are likely to be first to try new wines and are open to innovative packaging. They will be able to use internet as key information source, and they can research before they buy it. Millennials and males are often fall into this category. Goods will be distributed by ocean shipping and will be important to find the most efficient way to ship the goods. The international distribution channel will start from the manufacturer, Majura Winery, to an exportation intermediary who will be able to help oversee the process and the documentation. Once the product is in Canada, a wholesaler and/or retailer will be able to distribute the products to supermarkets and finally reach the end user of the consumers or restaurants. An environmental analysis of the market's economic, culture, political, and legal environments will be identified, and based on these findings, recommendations of marketing mix strategies will be discussed.
In order for Majura wine to be exported into Canada, it is mandatory that the process follows accordingly with the Australian Grape and Wine Authority regulations. Australia and Canada have a free trade agreement, which is a part of the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. Therefore, there is no market trade barriers for Australian wine exporting into Canada, and allows for the free trade between the two nations to occur without tariff limitations. The following federal and state legislations must be adhered to in terms of wine labelling in Australia. So those are the Australian Grape and Wine Authority Act 2013 and regulations, Food Standards Codes, National Trade Measurement Regulations 2009, Competition and Consumer Act 2010, and state consumer laws. So for Ontario specific, Canada's province of Ontario requires the implementation of multilingual labelling, where the labels must be in both French and English. In terms of packaging within Canada, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario requires a high board strength factor for the cartons in which wine is shipped to reduce breakage. Therefore, wine exporters who want to sell to the LCBO are obliged to pay for special print runs on higher strength cartons. So in British Columbia, the Liquor Distribution Branch has two branches of government responsible for the beverage alcohol industry. So the Liquor Distribution Act gives the LDB the sole right to purchase beverage alcohol both within British Columbia and from outside of the province. Exporting bulk wine, it is important to note that the licensed exporter ensures that the requirements of the procedure of the preparation and transportation of bulk wine are adhered to.
The total market value of the Canadian wine industry is sizable and currently stands at 8.59 billion Canadian dollars. The market is not expected to decline anytime soon, but its growth is expected to decrease to 1.5% in 2023. A large proportion of these sales are made up of imports, accounting for 40% of total wine sales. Australia is among the top 5 importers to Canada, alongside the United States, France, Spain, and Italy. Overall, Quebec is the largest importing province in Canada, which will be a key province for Majura. Australians have the best notoriety in Quebec and Ontario, accounting for 68% of Australian wine sales. Red wines dominate the market, occupying 50% of sales, yet there is an upwards trend in other types of wine, particularly in champagne and luxury white wines as well. In terms of its competitive landscape, the market is mostly fragmented, with two key players occupying almost 30% of the market.
In Canada, 80% of the Canadians drink alcohol. Canadian wine culture prefer to have a drink before entertaining at home or going out. Typically, wine are more elegant feel than the other type of the alcohol. To the most of the Canadians, consumption of the alcohol is part of the daily life. They would like to hold a glass of wine the relaxing party or attend the festival. Canada is the second largest country in the world by area. The total population of it is 37.4 million. They are the low context culture, which is word carry all the information. Canada is very diverse country as well. Canadians have the freedom to choose their own beliefs and opinions. They can assemble and worship without the restriction or state interference. Moreover, Canada has one of the highest living standards in the world. Canadians' customers are confident about their job and the overall economic. They always require the high quality service and product and after sales customer support. About the language, 57.8% people speak English, 22.1% people speak French, the others are speak Chinese and mother tongue.
We will now be exploring the marketing mix, including the product, price, place, and promotion recommendations for Mount Majura wines.
So in terms of product, Mount Majura Vineyard specializes in two types of wine, red wine and white wine. White wine linking in with the increased consumption trends and patterns in the Canadian market, and red wine linking in with the strong French roots of influence within Canada. Moreover, wine bottles produced by Mount Majura Vineyard may need to be slightly remodified or altered to meet Canadian regulatory requirements. So this may mean that they need to repackage or relabel their products in order to meet certain standards such as the Canadian Consumer Product Safety Act, the Canadian General Standards Board, and the Canadian Environmental Protection Act 1999.
As these wines are being introduced to the market with a high price, Mount Majura have opted for a price skimming strategy. This will require a markup of 175% from the current wine prices. However, as the company does want to encourage new trial, a new offer promotion will be given to consumers. This is so that customers can identify the brand as a luxury one while still competing with the price of the mid-range wines. An adaptation strategy should be adopted in this case where independent distributors can contribute to the establishment of the pricing according to their built-up expertise. Mount Majura will have to sell to wholesalers and retailers in Canadian dollars instead of Australian dollars.
According to Food Mag, Quebec, Ontario, and British Columbia are the three largest provincial wine markets in Canada with a combined volume share of 82%. Additionally, retail wine sales in Canada are dominated in the provinces of Quebec, Ontario, British Columbia, and Alberta, so they accounted for 94% of sales in 2015. Therefore, Quebec, Ontario, British Columbia, and Alberta are the four chosen provinces that Mount Majura wine would be exported into.
In terms of promotion, the main focus point of our promotion will be red wines. This is due to the strong roots of French influence within Canada, and as well as the increased consumption trends and patterns in the Canadian market for premium users of red wine. Promotional activities could include group wine tasting, invitations to wine tasting, and collaborations with local restaurants in order to display your wine within their restaurants. Promotional methods which could be undertaken include traditional sources of media such as TV and radio, as well as social media platforms such as Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook to market and promote our brand to ensure a wide range of exposure and reach to our premium users. Lastly, any commercial messages, advertising, or publicity of Mount Majura Vineyard must ensure that they do not coerce or pressurize young drinkers or underage drinkers into consuming this product, as this may lead to potential legal implications in future, as in line with the Canadian Broadcasting Act.